we are delighted to be interviewing the lovely, lovely Sarah Shaffi today, who is going to talk about our third book, Change is Gonna Come, which was published by Stripes Publishing. So Sarah, you were instrumental in discovering some of the new voices in the Change book. How important would you say an anthology like this is for emerging writers?
I think it's really important. I think one of the key things is that it gives people a chance to submit a shorter piece of work. It's not as overwhelming as like I must complete a novel because that's what I need to do as a writer, and to be appreciated as a writer I need to like write a full-length novel. You don't. A short story is more manageable in some ways but also more challenging in other ways, and I think it's a great chance for someone to really hone their writing skills for a start. And then there's the actual part of being an anthology that's so important, that you get to be published alongside amazing authors.
Yeah, there's such a great range of authors.
Such a great lineup, and all four of the pieces from the new authors that have gone in. If you took the names off all the work in the anthology, I defy anyone to kind of pick out who are the new authors and who are the established authors, because I think the quality was just so brilliant. And then the other thing is that all four of our authors got to go through the publishing process. They really got to learn about how it is that you work with editors and how you work with publicists and how you do events, and kind of they learned to talk about their own work as well in a way that was appealing to readers, and kind of really got readers to come to them and say, oh yes, I really want to read that piece of work. So I think the experience is kind of, it's about the actual writing experience, and then it's about the experience of being published as well, that you really get from an anthology like this.
Yeah, it's invaluable.
Definitely. I think community came up in a couple of times in some other interviews we were talking about, and I think having an anthology, it creates a ready community of voices and writers, and I think in YA, and for the kind of YA we're looking at talking about in representation, I think forming that really strong community.
And kind of communities and networks are integral to most types of businesses, and publishing is a business. So I co-founded an organisation called BAME Publishing to provide a network for people of colour who are already working in the industry, because if you're the only person on your floor out of 200 people and you're the only person of colour, that can be quite intimidating. And it's great to make links with people who might share a similar experience to you.
What has been the reaction to Change Book? Just the end, was it what you expected?
I think the reaction has been absolutely brilliant. I think everyone involved with it has been thrilled, and especially for the new voices who have been at the forefront of kind of promoting the book and talking about the book and the reasons behind the book as well. This idea of kind of, here's a book of voices that are underrepresented in literature, in Western literature as a whole. I think it's been crucial, and it's been so welcomed by kind of booksellers and by readers and by other writers as well. And the coverage has been really encouraging, and people are still talking about it. The hashtag is still being used to talk about it.
Why do you think a book like Change is necessary, not just for publishers but for authors and for readers as well?
I think Change is a small part of a much larger kind of conversation and movement around representation in publishing. And for so long, authors of colour, plus authors from other minorities, so LGBTQ, working class, disability, have been so underrepresented in publishing. And when they are represented, generally they are talking about their kind of quote-unquote otherness. Writers of colour are kind of finding themselves being pigeonholed into writing about what it means to be different. And I think one thing that Change illustrates really well is that you don't have to do that, because Change Book has got in it, it's got love stories, and it's got kind of sci-fi dystopia, and it's got lots of kind of Harry Potter mentions, and there's such a wide range of kind of genres and things explored in there, and it really illustrates that we're all kind of, it's a bit cheesy, but we're all, we all share so many experiences. It doesn't matter about our differences. So I think it shows that, and what I'd like is a kind of a ripple effect out from Change and from kind of some of the other books that are being published in YA. So for example, something like Children of Blood and Bone, you know, a great kind of immersive fantasy that just happens to be written by a writer of colour, featuring characters of colour. And that's what I want to see. I want to see fantasy, and I want to see sci-fi, and I want to see love stories, and I want to see crime, and I want to see more historical. So you know, I think that's
we'll
the key
totally
thing.
read those books.
We will,
if you can find them.
Yeah, please. There's so many people. There really is a demand for it. It's just publishers aren't publishing them.
I think in America they're a little bit ahead of us. Like the publishing industry in America is a little bit ahead of the UK publishing industry in many areas. You know, in kind of use of technology and plus in things they're acquiring. So obviously, you know, something like Children of Blood and Bone, something like The Hate You Give, which is about identity partly, but it's about much bigger ideas as well. So I think we'll hopefully see that kind of effect in the UK soon, of kind of just great stories, by kind of underrepresented.
One of the things I loved about Sophie Cameron's Out of Blue, that because the incidental
queer,
LGBT
queer. I like that.
It's a good way of phrasing it, and
It's
we
such
need
a great way.
those in genres.
Incidentally othered.
Yes, that will be
I think
a real turning point.
I
when
think
we
it will
see
be.
that across.
I think with the book that I've been writing, I think a lot of the authors did say, when I am just thought of as an author rather than a author of colour or BA, that's when I know that things will be.
And I think, you know, there's people like Catherine Johnson who writes great historical fiction, and I'm like, I love more YA historical fiction. Someone like Alex Wheatle, who's the second book in that trilogy, so the Crompton Knights, which is essentially an adventure story. It's like a modern version of a knight's of literally a knight's quest. And
Change is one of our 3 reading group books this summer. We're going to different Waterstones across the country, and we're reading books with young people, and maybe some not quite so young people, but young people. If you were at this reading groups with us, what question about Change book would you want to ask?
So I think I would ask, was there anything in Change book that kind of surprised you or challenged? Were your expectations challenged in any way, or your viewpoints challenged in any way? And that could be to do with the book, like the book as a kind of a product, as it were, itself, or kind of something in one of the stories that that sort of challenged you in some way. Because I think books that challenge readers and make them think are kind of quite special.
Lots of exciting things at the moment, including your new role at Little Tiger Press. Can you tell us a wee bit about what you're doing?
So I have a grand title, but it's not like
so fancy.
It's a fancy title. My fancy title is editor-in-chief at Little Tiger, and I work across the group. So I do some work for Stripes, I do work for the kind of picture book teams and things. And essentially, I mean, Little Tiger have been really great about kind of taking the lead in being inclusive and in trying out new things and kind of trying new ways to attract writers and attract readers. And so I'm just, you know, one tiny part of something they're already doing. And the reason that I wanted to work for them was because I thought they were making moves already, and they were kind of, you know, taking action and not just talking about taking action. So my role essentially is just to work with all of them to continue that kind of great start that they've already made into making sure their books are inclusive. So I'll be doing a whole mix of stuff, kind of working on projects with some of the teams, keeping an eye out in, you know, if I see any great illustrators or any great writers, kind of making sure that we're in their minds. And it's a real mix of stuff, but the team there is amazing, and they're really serious about this, really serious about kind of making sure that, you know, Change book isn't a one-off. And obviously next year there will be what's currently being called Pride book, so which will be similar in some respects, in that it's an anthology of poetry and prose written by a mix of established writers and new writers around kind of the LGBTQ space. But again, it will be a book that really shows kind of a range of experience, and they won't, it won't be a dozen stories about coming out.
Talking about books for teenagers, for young people, what were you reading when you were...
So I'm so old that YA fiction didn't really exist
when
I was a teenager. So apart from Judy Blume, I will always love Here's to You, Rachel Robinson. I think that's my favourite. And Deanie.
Yeah.
I reread Deanie.
Forever with the sex
Forever's
scene.
a proper YA novel. Forever's probably like new adult, actually, if that's the term we still use. I know they do in America. It didn't really take off so much here. So I read Judy Blume. I read Melvin Burgess's Junk, which was like, I would say, kind of one of the first, if not the first, proper British YA novel. And then I just went straight from reading like Sweet Valley High, Babysitter's Club, and loads of like novels about ice skating. That was my thing. Into adult stuff. And
any new YA titles coming out that you can tell us about?
From Stripes, we've got a book called The Truth About Lies by Tracy Darnton, and Tracy was actually, so Stripes did an anthology before Change, which was around the theme of Christmas and home, and Tracy was the kind of previously unpublished writer whose work was selected for that, so she was published in that, and so her first novel is coming out this summer from Stripes, and it's one of my favourite. I love a boarding school setting.
Oh yeah,
so it's at boarding school. It's quite kind of dark in some ways. So it's about a girl who's I want to say friend in kind of inverted quotes, because as a teenager sometimes your friends are not quite your friends.
Very complicated
and has died, and so this girl, the girl, her kind of roommate slash friend slash frenemy, who's left behind, has a perfect memory. Like she can recall everything, and she suddenly starts getting these kind of sinister notes about the death of this young girl. So it's kind of
creepy.
a bit thrillery, a bit kind of boarding school mystery sort of, and then obviously a story just about being a teenager and kind of dealing with
that sounds like quite good fun.
So yes, that should be.
That sounds exciting. You're trapped on a desert island. I know, it's so sad. What 3 books would you take with you?
This is the worst question
I know, we're
ever.
sorry.
So I would take the collected works of J.K. Rowling. So I take
as one humongous book lugging about. You can use it as a boat.
Absolutely huge book. So obviously, so I'd take the Harry Potter series, because for me, like, got a bit of everything, and I kind of there are books I love more than others, but I love them all. And then I was trying to think of, like, I wanted something quite immersive and contemporary, and at first I was trying to look for a kind of a romance, but then I couldn't think of one that I'd want to read over and over again. But then I thought of like a kind of a sort of a crimey type story, so The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which I really love. And then I would take Arabian Nights.
Oh, okay.
Which I can dip in and
Yeah,
out,
definitely.
which is like, again, many different kinds of stories.
That makes absolute sense.
And a bit of everything.
Can you recommend a YA book to us?
So, I'm going to recommend, and also I need to reread it, I am going to recommend Junk by Melvin Burgess, because it was, I just remember being so thrilled when I read it at the age of, I think I was 13, I was in year 9, and it was such a cool book as well, because obviously, like, when you're 13 and reading about, like, violence and drugs and, like, teenagers getting in trouble, so, like, and then, like, everyone, a whole year was reading it and stuff, but I'd love to go back and read it, and I think he's still doing really great stuff. I feel like for kind of people that are into like UK YA, I think that's like a good one. It's like one of the foundation ones you should probably have, along with like someone like Mallory Blackman's kind of Noughts and Crosses.
Everyone should read Noughts and Crosses. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coming in and speaking about not just change books, but all the lovely YA related things as well. It's been brilliant having you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.